Hey, this is Dave from metalepidemic.com. Thank you for checking out our YouTube video. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button below if you like this type of content, and we hope you enjoy the review. What's up guys, Dave here from Metal Epidemic, back with another album review. And for this review, Duncan Kyle and myself have been checking out the new album from German funky hardcore band Slope. The band's new album Street Heat will be released on March 15th via Beatdown Hardwear Records. So these guys have been active since around 2014, have released 2 EPs to date, and are about to release their debut full-length album on March 15th. The intent behind their music is to make people move and let go of all struggles, combining funky groove riffs and hard, pissed-off stomps. So, I sent you guys a link to the band's first single, Purple Me, just to gauge if it would be something that you guys would be interested in reviewing, because we've reviewed some hardcore releases in the past, but I know it's not your go-to genre. But I thought maybe the funky element and this might pique your interest. Was I right, Duncan? What did you make of Slope?
You were right for me. So you sent me that track, and if you recall, do you recall, Dave? What I said back to you was shouldn't work, but surprisingly does.
Yes.
So for all intents and purposes, it shouldn't work, and I will put my cards on the table here. There are swaths of funk here, but it's not at the detriment to the 90s hardcore that is ripping out of this here. It like almost instantly reminded me of Dog Eat Dog from back in
definitely.
the day.
Yep.
Heavy Dog Eat. Even down to the production. The production on this is 100% gonna go back in time to the 90s. Is 100%. Like I had to like first go like, have these guys been around for that? You know, because it does. It feels authentic to a T. Yeah, there's everything you want from your kind of 90s happier punky hardcore sort of stuff here. Big chunky bouncy guitars, plenty of gang vocals, lyrics that aren't twee. That's the thing I told you, modern hardcore with the friends, family, pish. I get to a point where I'm like, really? You say that, but no one likes to spend all their time with their family. That's not healthy. And yeah, so no, I really like that element as well. The funk elements used surprisingly well on this is mostly driven from the bass and the drums, and less from the guitar, to be fair. And actually that's the bit that surprised me the most. I was expecting a bit of kind of like Snot-esque sort of guitar work, and it's not really there. The guitar stays fairly authentic to the genre, whereas they are very happy to mix things up. There are segments here which kind of break into that kind of like those movements, which I really liked as well as a contrast against other bits, and they use it surprisingly well. So they use it where they should be using either in introductions or in interludes, as opposed to we're going to have a whole song of just this, which would feel like they were cashing in on a, well look, we can play funk. They don't do it. It's just part of the way they play it is as if it's always supposed to have been played this way. You know, it's just part and parcel of the music, and you just have to get with it. And I think I've always been of the opinion that funk transcends its own genre and is very malleable with tons of different alternative genres. You can fit in anywhere. Punk specifically, so it doesn't really surprise me that it melds as well with hardcore. But for the life of me, I can't think of many bands that have really used it as an inclusion. Even the aforementioned Dog Eat Dog, there are elements of kind of funky bounce, but their music I wouldn't describe as being, you know, funk inspired. So I enjoyed that as well. Vocally, it took me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Like the first full listen through, I wasn't entirely sure I liked his tone. In certain bits, he kind of sounded like 90s Tom Araya, which was cool with me, but kind of like, what we're doing here. But on repeat listens, and of all the albums you give me, this is the one I've listened to the most. I've spun this 6 times. One, because it's short, and 2, because it is a very happy sounding album. It's very in contrast to some of the other ones we've recorded tonight, but when are they being released? We don't know. This one was the pick me up. So Humanity's Last Breath brings you down, Slope brings you up. Ironically, Slope brings you up when you think it would bring you down. There we go. Oxymoronic. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. I thought overall this band have really well written, catchy, small, concise songs. Lots of interesting elements about it. You know, they're happy to change up their pace, and like I say, inclusion of some of that funky bass and drums. Gang vocals, brilliant, and actually over time the vocalist grew on me. I actually really enjoyed his tone. It has authentic 90s production to a fault. So if you don't like that, then you're going to struggle with this one. I do. I love that sort of stuff. So it fits really well, and it gets in and gets out perfectly. Like this is the sort of album that when it finishes, I don't want any more and I don't want any less. It's the perfect length and it does exactly what it says in its tin. Slope is a surprising band. Like on paper, once again, like I was with the Quizzical Eyebrow when you suggested this, when you say funk and hardcore, I'm instantly going to go nope and nope, or slope and slope. But yeah, like even Purple Me, which once again I don't necessarily think is the best song on the album. I think it's the one where it does capture a few of the elements. It's a good indicator actually of the overall sound of the album, but they do far more interesting stuff throughout. From a single point of view, and the music video is fucking great for it, so if you get a chance, check it out. It's really, really inventive. Yeah, this is a pure good. Like literally nothing I can fault this album on at all. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Nice. Kyle, what did you make of this one?
When you sent it over, I was like, it's got the word funk in it, and I immediately go to Rage Against the Machine. And then I think, this is going to be a bad Rage Against the Machine cover band, isn't it? Or cover, but, they're going to copy Rage Against the Machine. Right. It's going to be, jangly guitars. But it wasn't. No, it's like the most high-gain guitar in a funk beat I've ever heard in my fucking life. It works, just like you said. It shouldn't work, but it does. Yeah. And after 4 tracks, I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm sold. I'm in. I'm on board with this. It's like it's the most feel-good album I've listened to in a very long time.
It's super happy. Like between them and Sonic Flower last week.
But
I think 2021 might be an alright year, guys.
Yeah, maybe. Let's hope so. According to this album, it is. But it wasn't like over the top happy either. It wasn't like forcing it on you. It had its heavy moments. It had its funky moments, and they didn't go overboard with either one of those either. They kept a good balance all the way through, and the vocal tone work grew on me as well. I didn't love it in the first listen, but I don't love it now, but I'm okay with it.
No computerized drums?
Don't think so. Think they were real.
There's definite changes. There's especially in the snare hits, there's definite changes.
Yeah,
I love that bass drum sound, 90s bass drum sound. Bring it back, folks.
For an album like this,
click, 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 click.
Yep.
Every now and again, you want a boom.
Yep. A nice plosive in the mic. Yeah, I mean, for an album like this, you can't have time-aligned. You can't have time-aligned sample drums. It'd be like, what are you trying to do, guys? They're like, oh, you fucked up, didn't you? Yeah.
This is what we call quantized funk.
Yeah, quantized funk. Jesus. There was some professor of music on an interview once talking about a pop song, and he said it's got unbelievable levels of funk on it, and everyone's like, this is time-aligned to shit. Are you kidding? Where do you teach? Turns out it was Berkeley or something. I'm just like, gee, I'm
don't
glad.
know about funk in Berkeley.
Fucking nothing.
Fucking
absolutely. Couldn't believe it. I was like, what? Even I can hear that's time aligned. It was a great drum line, not gonna lie, but it was like, come on. Anyway, this album presents itself exactly as what it is, and I love that about it. It didn't oversell, it didn't undersell. It's like, yep, we are what we are, and it works. I like it. Yeah. The high gain funk is just like I still can't get over it because it really does work. It's like it's quite a great metal tone on the guitars, but it's like, and then it's funky as fuck. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna copy that once. Yeah.
I hope you are all ready to hear Kyle's new band Incline, and
Inverted Slope.
So
Funk Gent.
See, fuck goes with
Nine-string
gent.
funk
I've
gent.
said it before. It's a surprisingly malleable genre. It really it fits with metal really well. I just can't. I'm sure they're not the first band to do it, but it was a revelation to me. I certainly never heard anything. I don't even need to ask you, Dave. I know you liked it, so well, actually, I don't know for sure, but I know your tastes, and I would be fucking hella surprised if you did not dig this album. So come on, tell us. Go for it.
Yeah, it's a really fun album. Like, after the other two albums we've reviewed this week, it was like just what I needed. I think they've got a really like playful side to them, especially that funky side. You can't help but get on board with that. And those tracks where they go down that more kind of funky route, they reminded me, like, I don't know if you remember bands like Insolence or even like really old Chilli Peppers. And I know you mentioned Snot. Actually, some of the more kind of funkier or melodic moments in the album were kind of very Snot-esque. But as we've said, Slope are also a hardcore band. So as like jovial as this album can be, they also have these moments on tracks like Train Surfing or Mood Swing 87 where they do kind of crank up the guitars and add that more aggressive kind of vocal melody. But I think that the balance is absolutely spot on. They've got it really well balanced out. They never seem to linger on a particular formula either, which keeps this album quite interesting. The tracks, as you said, really short, sharp, to the point. So, there's like 2 tracks that go over 4 minutes on this.
Yeah.
The rest, like between 2 minutes and 3.5 minutes. So nothing overstays its welcome, which I think is key for this type of stuff. And I think because it's an album that runs at about half an hour, I think you're more likely just to stick this on again as soon as it's over. Musically, I think it's got the riffs, it's got the grooves in abundance. It's got some really nice kind of slick kind of tempo switches as well during the tracks that really caught my attention. And I think the funky element really works in this genre. I think hardcore is a style that can be really repetitive and predictable, but I didn't get that at all with this album. And they don't overcomplicate it either. They don't. I think a lot of this works because they keep it simple. They know what works and they balance it out really well. Vocally, I actually quite liked the vocals from the start. When we heard the first single, I was kind of sold on the vocals straight away. It's not like a constant shouty approach that you get from a lot of hardcore bands. This has a bit of that in the kind of heavier moments, but it also has, as you said, it's got kind of punkier traits where they do go a little bit more melodic, and then you've got like the thickened up kind of vocal lines that remind you bands like Beastie Boys or even 1 Minute Silence still to an extent as well.
Kings, remember the Step Kings?
Step Kings,
there's a bit of Step Kings in there as well. So
yeah. I love the production. I think it's very direct. It's punchy. I love the sound they went for on Street Heat. Everything is really well balanced. It's very crisp sounding, very clear. And I think that works really well for the band's funky side, especially the bass, which they often kind of shine a light on, but also works when they do veer into the heavier territory. The guitar and drum sound particularly kind of hard hitting. It reminded me a little bit of Straight to the Path, just occasionally their productions are quite kind of direct and hard hitting. I enjoyed a lot of this album. It's not perfect. I think there's maybe a little bit of filler here and there, but I think when they're on it and the tracks are cooking, I must admit I dug it a lot. Never heard of them before, but I've definitely got my eye on them now that I've heard of Slope, and I'll be keeping an eye on any future releases from this band. Rating wise, what are we thinking for Street Heat from Slope? Duncan, what are you thinking?
4. There's so much to love about this album. It's very, very, very catchy. It's infectious. Like Dave says, you're going to want to play it again and again. And I don't know if, very much like yourself, it was because the music we've been listening to around this week has been particularly bleak that it stood out even more. But I think given time this year, I can see me coming back to this one quite a lot. It's just it's a nice little palate cleanser of an album, and you feel happy when you're listening to it, and it does put you in a good mood when it's finished. So 4 out of 5 for Slope.
Nice. Kyle, what about yourself?
I'll give it a 4 as well. There's no reason not to. It's great. It's not the first genre I'd go to when I listen to music, but now I have, I'm like, it's very enjoyable. It's not bleak and punishing. And they're honest about it. I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any insincerity with this album either. It's very. They are who they are. They're doing something. And to be honest, I thought this band was from California, not Germany. So 4 out of 5.
Nice. I will join you fellows with a 4 out of 5 as well. As I said, thoroughly enjoyed it. Good production, good riffs. It's quirky. It's got, a very addictive quality to it. So I can see myself, like yourself, going back to it throughout the year. This one will drop in March. It's out on March 15th via Beatdown Hardwear Records. The album is called Street Heat, and the band are Slope. If you want to check them out, it's facebook.com/slopehc. And I'll put a little link in the description below to that. That's the review, guys. Thanks for checking it out. Much appreciated. We'll be back with another review very soon. But until then, take care. We'll speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.
I'm losing it.